Japanese designs. What I wanted to show today was how easy it is for watercolouring. This is my watercolouring. This isn't watercolours. Watercolouring is colouring in a colour book. So you're working very dry. You're not working traditional wet on wet or even wet on dry. You're working damp on dry. And excuse my stroky voice. It's so dry that you can just bear with me 2 seconds. I'll just stop zapping in and out. And the autofocus was on. It's so dry that you can colour a napkin. And the advantage of this is that it doesn't destroy your colour pages, and it doesn't matter how thin they are, they don't crinkle. This is watercolour paper. This is photo paper, and it's only crinkled because it's a scruffy piece of paper. But the watercolour does not crinkle it. I'm just using it to test my colours before I put it down, and that's another good idea. Is I always have a scruffy bit of paper that I can just test the colour before I put it down, because once it's down, I don't photocopy these. Most of them I photocopy them. Most of the colours I do, the colourings I do, but this one, because there's the Animorphia and there's the Imagimorphia, and I'm also working in his sketchbook, which is a lot smaller. And that's why this is handy for going out on the train. That was done on a train. That's Derwent Inktense pencil, used from into focus. That's used from my little book on the train the other day. And my little book has the Inktense pencils in here, or 72. But they're in pencils. They're scratched onto a surface 3 or 4 times to make a good coating. And then I use a very fine paintbrush to reconstitute them into a dry wash, and then I just colour in, and I just flick, and I mix the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2s with the Gansai Tampa watercolours. Then you've got the 72 Derwent pencils in here, the peelers that are in here, the full range of the peelers. So I mix my colours up with everything, and the Hydrus, which they look quite messy, but there's lots of colour on here still. That's all pure colour. So my little book goes everywhere. That would be a suitcase of supplies in one book with a dry paintbrush. I don't use a water brush. That's far too wet. Your pages will crinkle if you use a water brush. If you use a pot with some water and then a damp brush, that's all it takes to reconstitute even these professional watercolours. These are proper pan colours that I've cut 2 millimetres out and stuck in there with me. And they will reconstitute, and use that as a palette, and you can still do this. But because I have the colour on my colour wheel, that's what I'm using today, because I want to use this up. So that's the colour palette I made last week, a couple of days ago, and I made it with 3 primary colours. I made it with a lemon yellow, a cerulean blue, and a alizarin crimson. And I wanted to use the colours up today because I'm a tight Yorkshire lass, and so I have a baby white. Now you'll have to forgive me today. I'm on the sofa today because I'm not very well, and I can't really have to sit at This is a live stream, and there's the naughty boy. He's fast asleep. But that could change any minute. He's by my feet. He's actually on my feet. He's on me. Which is going to be very uncomfortable for me. I'm going to try and watch a bit of chat on here if anybody appears. But it is a weekend, so I don't expect anybody to watch me today. It's another thing is testing the camera. This is the Logitech it's the Logitech C90E, and I wanted to see what the light was like because there's not a lot of light on. I don't have much light here, so we'll just test it out and see if it works. I'm hoping it will. It's supposed to be really good. My voice is a bit croaky as well today, so hopefully that'll be okay. But mainly I'll be colouring in a page from, and also I wanted to go through this little book because colouring books now are getting more and more complicated in patterns, and they can look quite daunting when you first look. But what I do is I break them down. I do spend a few, probably a few hours just skipping through it and looking, and actually looking at one page and thinking, there's the red toadstools, there's the same shrub that appears in a lot of them, there's the roses, and you can pick things out. And if you go through the whole page picking out these, this is what I did with this one, and I do expect an avalanche because I've only done one page in the ANIMORPHIA, and I spent a good half an hour having a look and finding the same patterns or the same things. So I first of all started to pick out the leaves, and as you can see, that looks like a watercolour. I'll put the autofocus. That's like a watercolour, because I work very dry. And the colours are very pale and watercolour. I'm going to cardinal stain and fold it in half so you can see the words. And the toadstool. So I picked things up one at a time, had a look, decided what colours would go where, and what leaves should be what colours. And then I started very gently picking out the roses and colouring those, colouring the paler pink, the paler red one. I left the daisies white, which they look quite nice, because there's quite a lot of colour. The bluebells, pale blue, snail. So you can get some quite nice details working like this. So what I wanted to show was how easy it was. And the pages stay extremely flat. And this is going to be a book that I've only copied one page from. So this is going to be a book that I'm not going to copy from. So I have a water pot here, lid. And normally I have my book of colours, but I'm working from here today. So I don't want to damage the book at all, so I'm going to put a piece of photocopy paper here. And that allows me, and I apologise for the noise. The rabbit behind me is digging for England. And when I shout, there's 3 puppies fast asleep, or 3 dogs I should say. But that could change at any minute. So you don't get completely blasted. I will shout puppy or dog alert, and if I shout dog, then you know to turn the volume down very quickly or move away from your earphones. some reason I've come back now. So I'm going to zoom in and take my goggles off, and then I can start. I'll talk about the colours, but this is just basically watching how I work and how easy it is. So I need to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. I think that might be about okay. So I was going to start with, I might start with the roses. I always start with the roses. So I'll start with the roses first. And then what I'm going to try and do is see if I can get it to focus. I think that's not so bad. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'll take my glasses off. So this is a live show for Ustream and also for YouTube. So the light's not very good, but the camera seems to be doing quite well. So I'm going to do this rose first. I'll move that down so you can see what we're doing. And I'm just going to see if that's very bright. I don't think that's bright enough for me. I do have a larger water pot to clean the brushes, and I don't normally do that. I only use a baby white when I'm on a train, but because I'm using these more as a traditional colour, I think we may have a pinky next. And I'm just working right on the edge. Just trying to keep me open. I think I probably want the ready red. I think I need a ready red like this one. So because that's all. And this is very, very wet, so I'm taking lots and lots off. So I don't have very much in my brush. Just the tiniest amount. And that means you can stroke. A little bit too much on there. You can just stroke the page. And it doesn't really, I do apologise about the digging with the, it digs for anything, hours and hours. So I'm going to take this, and I'm actually going to use the paper as a palette. Because I just want that, I want a nice kind of highlight on that real there. And this is, you would do the same with oils and acrylics. You would add white, whereas I'm just adding water. And if it's too light, you can go back in it in a bit and put the tiniest amount back. This is how dry I'm working. And because it's dry, your paints go a long way. If you use a number 10 0 brush, a liner, it has quite a long stem, a long bristle. That lends itself to bend, so when that's bending, it's not putting any pressure on your hand or your finger. And I kind of work in a small area, so my hand, oh, I do apologise about it. I don't know why she does it, she just spends hours doing it. I'm not sure, I think that's another leaf behind there, so we'll just curl that behind there. Whoops, sorry, it's getting comfortable. It could be a snore in a minute. Right, so that rose looks quite nice. I'm sure he's comfortable. He's now. it's really quick, is this? It's fairly quick. It is fairly quick. It is when you don't rub it on like an angle. So it is quite quick. So this is what I intend to do, is just show you my normal pace and less waffle and more colouring is the order of the day. And then you can see how easy and quick it is. And I'm going to just have a little, I just want that really deep colour. And that is quite wet, but it will dry. I'm not quite sure what's behind there. I think that's just something else. I do apologise about the... So I'm going to look to see if there's any more red roses, because I have now this red on the end of my brush, and as a tight Yorkshire line, I don't want to lose that, so I'm going to very carefully, and that one's wet, everything else will be dry, but because I've left that a little bit too wet. So there was a rose here. Oh, I missed a rose, there's one there. There is one here. So I've got another rose there. Well, that's one here. That's a little bit wetter than I wrote now. But that's because it's all pure colour. And then just a touch of water, and you can work on a piece of paper. Because you're working so, this is just thin photograph paper and made a big palette. I'm just stroking some highlights in. And then I will probably leave those until I found them all, and then I'll pop back and maybe just make that some little bit darker than others. Because obviously you don't just have two highlights. And I kind of have more. And these drawings are quite good, because where there's cross hatching and hatching with the lines. I'm so sorry about my snowball obviously it's most of the day, so they look quite realistic. They're not perfect, but they look quite realistic. So there's a couple of roses up here, and I've taken that these are a different flower. So there are a couple of roses up there, so if I just turn there, I think we can get them without too much, barely anything on my brush at all. And just gently stroke. So there are about 3 or 4 strokes to each rose. Each one. So if we go back into this, because it's wet on here, the paper palette. And the other beauty, there's lots of reasons for this. One is that once you've done it and moved away, it's almost dry. It's just that little piece there, the really dark, that I made too wet. But all that's dry, so if you can move on to something else in straight away. Whereas with watercolouring, you have to wait till it's dry or dry it with a hairdryer. So that's another reason why I like it. Especially in the hospital. I took the other book to the hospital, and I sat there in a sunny lounge. People thought I was crackers, but I knew I'd be there for a few. Well, I thought I would be there for a few hours, at least 3 hours. So I wanted to be comfortable. I didn't want to be bored, and painkillers were wearing off a smidgen, so got to be occupied. So it worked out quite well. And a lovely little man bought me a coffee, bless him. Or brought me a coffee from the coffee shop, which meant I didn't have to move at all. And I just sat in a sunny chair. What if that's a leaf, actually? Or is it a curled back rose? That's the other thing about these. Sometimes you've got to think about what they are. it's not a given it's not just given that's exactly what they are. So you have to kind of have a bit of a think, which is a good idea to look first. Because I'd looked at a page about 4 times in the little book that I was thinking about colouring. And then I went back to it. See, that's still wet on there. I still use that. And that gives me total control. I can do that and know that that's what I'm going to get. And it makes good practice for not going over the lines. It's very quick. You can do this in the car. What normally happens is, oops, we've missed it. Just drink a water first. The other noises will be from the puppy, which is that if he lifts his head up, the palette will disappear. He has to be close to me. I say normally it's very quiet in this room because when it's just they're all rescued. So and we had a disabled rabbit who died a couple of weeks ago, months ago now. And Snowdrop, as we called her, whom now call her Snowball, could fit in the palm of my hand. And she was the runt, and it was Christmas time, and I made a mistake of going to the Pets R Us for some special. I was buying them special treats at Christmas, and there was this little lonely rabbit, as I say, the size of a white mouse, with these enormous ears that were trailing on the floor. She was so funny. And the thing is, they said that all the other rabbits had been given homes, and she was the runt, and she would probably die because she was on her own, and she just didn't have any family left. And so I brought her home so she would be the right size for my disabled dwarf rabbit. So we called her Snowdrop because she was tiny. But just like the Disney films and the fairy tales, she grew and she grew and she grew, and she's now the size of a dinner plate. She is a giant white rabbit. So she got rather rough with small Thumper. So we had to kind of separate her sometimes. And some more roses. So we separated her. So we had 2 cages in the lounge, which is not clever. I'm going to turn that round. So hopefully we're still in frame and you can see. I just check with my glasses that I turn the auto focus on. Yes. You have to excuse me, there's a tummy rumbling for the bunnies and the little puppy here. Just literally. So let me see if I can see these flowers. We need those roses there. And just I've just thought of fairy tale. Alice in Wonderland, painting the roses red. That's a strange thing to think about when you're streaming, but hey. So the light isn't particularly clever just there, so I have to move it. Oh, she's woken up again. So Snowdrop became Snowball because she became a giant white. And Christmas Eve again, a year later, was George, who was a tiny runt of a Dutch dwarf rabbit. So he became Thumper's soulmate. And we've oh dear, we're still digging for gold, sorry. And she couldn't have sawdust because of some design she used. So she has straw and sawdust. But she's a little bit like a queen rabbit. She likes to sit on a cushion because some of her hats would be on blanket. So she has her queenie moment. I'm trying to make this a little bit more realistic by giving it some quite nice tones at the bottom. I hope I'm in frame, and I'm kind of working off the corner here and off the paper, the photocopy paper. So you can, I'm not working very wet because obviously this is photocopy paper. I'm hoping that if it was sunny, she's in the sunny lounge, she would just be laid out sleeping now. But because it's a little bit of a cloudy day, she's bored. When she's bored, she digs for England. I think that probably would be a green roof. I'm so sorry about the noise behind. I think I've probably given her, and that's that little bit too wet as well, but never mind. The other advantage is that you can colour the next one working very dry. Whereas, again, if you were using traditional colours, you couldn't. If you touched the leaves, you couldn't go back for quite a while. So again, this is quite nice because you can finish in one. Not too much on there. On this thing. The sun's come back out again, so she may have a nap. So they look quite pretty, those little red roses. Some of them have got a little bit more highlight and low light than the others, but that's fine. So again, we're just having a bit of a look around to see if we can find any more red roses. And I should have had a good look first, shouldn't I? Well, I've got the pinky red, so we're going to do the. I've just come across some toadstools, so I can get on straight away with toadstool. So that's lucky because I can go straight to here. Again, that's that little bit too. That's more like single cream, and I have it just that little bit dry. I've decided that all the mushrooms in this book, or toadstools, are going to be the red one with the white dots. And again, what I would normally do is have a look around. You can look at things and think you've found everything and then realise that you haven't. So at the moment I'm actually working off I'm working from the oops, sorry, I wasn't in frame. I'm working from the photocopy paper. It's protecting my page just in case I drop something. And it's also giving me just enough to make it drier, so it's not all over the place. So I do like working this dry because it's quick, it's easy, it's not messy. You can move on to something else, you can paint next to it. I mean, those roses are completely dry now, and I've just painted them. So we now need some more toadstools. Oh, found some more here. There's two more there. this and then just dabbing just the tip of the paintbrush, which, as I say, is very light on the fingers. So I can do this all day. I have been known to do this all day. This is all I do. Can't really do very much. Some days are better than others, but most of the time I get up and I do this. And I can do this all day, even with arthritis, because there is no pressure on your hand at all. There's a little bit more than since I've been making my own colours, changing colours. When I use my little book, there's no pain at all. But I wanted to use up this paper card because the way I work, there's lots and lots of I do apologise. I've realised that this is what I do. I think it's the fibromyalgia. You start a sentence and you never finish it. So I do apologise. I'm going to have to start to do that. So I'm still looking for toadstools. Found some more here. And there's one there on his in there. Because it's not until you start to draw, to colour this in, that you realise there are quite a lot of things on there. So I'm just going to move that up so we can get to these. I'm going to move that down so I am next to what I'm painting. I'm using that as a palette. Again, you can stroke, and if there isn't enough, I do apologise, there's some heavy breathing behind me. Sorry, in front of me. That's how dry I'm working. So I do like this way of working, and you don't have to get any tops off or anything. I can work. I've got these colours in my book, and I can work in this little book. And when the nurse called me from the hospital, I just shut the book up, threw it in my bag, shut this book up straight away, and nothing was damaged. Because everything's dried within a few minutes. Oops. There's a little face here. And I don't think anybody would want to be, I don't think anybody would want to be colouring with somebody that close to you, who's completely upside down. I mean, my palette is here, and his nose is here. He's gone under the tray now. So again, if he lifts his head up, if that was a proper palette, a proper. I do like the camera. I hope I didn't make it too sick there. So 3 little toadstools there. Oh, and 3 little more here. Look. Right, the wind sometimes sets them off. So if I say dog, you know that there's going to be some barking. So I apologise in advance. But everybody's gone to. Because while I'm doing this, I don't feel guilty that everybody's doing the house now. Just doing that and some light. A little bit of light there. We only use a little bit. Made a mistake there. you can get away with a couple of little mistakes. It's just that if you're a perfectionist, you know it's there. I started with the red, the cool red, and then come to the pinky red. Those toadstools are pinky red. And those are pinky red. Never mind. So can we see any more toadstools? I'm guessing there should be some this side. Oh yes. So I've still got my piece of paper, and I'm on this cushion tray. And again, that's another way that I like working is I'm on a cushion tray and I am watercolour, which you probably couldn't do. Just turn that round. You can see that. So I like working this way because if I sit for too long, I get very dusty. It's quite funny, but if anybody could see me getting up when I stream for 3 hours, it's rather funny. I'm a bit like an elephant trying to get out of a mud bubble and flail around like my mum-in-law is stuck with us at the moment. She's 92, and we have a competition who can get out of the chair first, and she wins every time. She's an amazing lady. Being 92, she was talking about the war and what children had and what they didn't have. See, this would be good for children because they can colour in and there's no mess. I just remember dreading getting paint out for the girls. Pots of water and pots of paint. So I found some more toadstools, and I think that's going to be it for toadstools. So I've picked out 1 or 2 things. Oh no, on his head there. Because I've got some paint in this brush. I tease it down. Get some just to can't work too dry. So it ends up dragging the paint. And your brush, if it's dragging, it'll then slip and it will make a mess. You have got to do it kind of. So I've picked off all the bright reds. There's probably going to be some more roses somewhere. Sure what to do with this. I don't think they're daisies. I think they could be pansies maybe. I might do them purple. But I think I'm going to do this leaf because I've got this bright green leaf here. So we've kind of put that back over there. I'm going to put my little thing over there just in case anybody bobs in to say hi. I'm not ignoring them. So do make sure that we've got all that red out. That's why the baby one comes in because you can see. This is a lovely way to spend an afternoon, I have to say. So I would think that's more tree-like. to do the woody bits first, because if I do the woody bits, I'm not going to make a mistake the other way. So that looks like a woody bit too. Let me see that. Just bear with me 2 seconds. I will look in there. I'm going to find a nice wood to do that. Now obviously, to think about the stag, they're going to be fawn colours, and then, I mean, they don't have to be, they can be purple, they can be any colour you like, but I like to, when I'm doing the watercolours, when I'm using the ink tens, when I use the Dr. Martens Hydrus, the pinks and purples, I kind of just use those, and that's a completely different side of me, which is very strange. So I'm going to take a brown now, so I'll tickle that round to browns, and I attempted to make some browns here. I made that brown, so that brown is completely made up, but it's a warm brown. It's not a cool brown. But I'll show you a trick with the browns. If you put some dark blue in a brown, it makes it dark brown. And if you took that colour further, you would get a grey, and that's almost Payne's grey, because dark brown and ultramarine make Payne's grey. So I need to buy a Payne's grey. And I would like the Payne's grey because I made it myself, rather than, so because I like this colour, I'm going to just try it on there first. I do like that. It lends itself to quite a, you can be quite dark further down. And that's the other magical thing, is I can keep working up here, tree trunk, and the colour is at the end, and this is kind of a damp water. So what will happen is the water will keep diluting that brown naturally, without me adding any water. And so that lends itself to some lovely shading without doing anything at all. So by the time I've got up here, it's a very, very pale fawn colour. Whereas down here, it's quite dark. Now we could just weaken that with water to get the same effect if we want to. Just check that I'm in frame. So you can't see the little trick. Sorry about that. Well, I've started at the bottom of the truck and it's got lighter and lighter. So what I'm trying to do now is replicate that with water. So I can carry on going with these stems, branches, and not be too far away from the natural I think these kind of fleshy ones, like an ivy, but it's like a huge ivy, they're going to be the pea green, I think. I think I want these probably a deeper green, but I don't. Oh, maybe an olive green would look nice. Looking at it, I think this is an olive green. Then I would need to make slightly more than that. It's quite a nice green, isn't it? I like that. So what I'm going to take, I'm going to do a huge. That's a nice green. It's a dark olive with a touch of orange. I liked it as it was actually, but never mind. I'm going to make a big puddle of this because I'm going to make a large. Shouldn't have done that. So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. This colour. I'm going to have to do this because I'll contaminate my orange and I'll be putting this. So I like that, and there's quite a lot of colour there. And I know that one drop of the bright green and a couple of drops of the bright orange is going to give me a nice olive green. So quite like that, but this is too cloggy. This is like almost like single cream. This is single cream, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to water that down here, and that can dry, and I can reconstitute it in a minute. So I'm going to water that down. So that's almost like. Oops. So that's really nice, kind of. I wonder if I should take it a step. No, I like that. I think that would look quite nice. Maybe too many. Let's just take it another stage. That's not even an orange anymore. It's just. It just needs a touch more than that. I do love all these greens. I'm now getting quite a number of greens here. And that's so much nicer than just it is nice to do, I have to say, but I can't do it all the time because of my hands. I'm only doing this once this paint's gone and I finish doing this colour this series on colours. I will go back to my little book because it does hurt my hands, but for anybody starting out, that's just wonderful to play about with the greens. So I'm going to put a touch of red in that one. Now that's deep. That's made it darker because green is the complementary colour of red. So in order to get it to go darker, that's exactly the same. All I've done is put red in it, and that's made a lovely complementary colour. So I'll just take that across. See, that's the original olive. Just leave it there. So I hope you enjoy this video. I wanted just to do something while I was on my, well, not technically while my daughter's in the living room. Everybody else has gone to the coast today. happy to sit here and do this all day. I think this is very good for keeping your morale up as well. Because I'm not always a bright and chirpy little person either. But I do try. Now that's quite awkward for me because it's uncomfortable for me to twist my arm around. So I'm going to attempt to move things. And again, that's why I photocopy things. So hopefully I'm in frame. I'll just pop my glasses on a second so I can find if anybody's joined me. But I haven't mastered the camera for making videos, so I'm doing that tree, and because the leaves, I'm going to put it that way so that I'm kind of, it's quite natural for me. And I'm going to turn that to the browns. So we have the brown that I've made and the green that I've made here. And then I'm practicing double check the colour. And that colour's working quite well. It's okay, puppy. It was the wind, darling. Let's start woofing. Doing very well. So there's something quite peaceful about sitting and colouring. And it is quite therapeutic as well. Because while you're concentrating on not going over the line. And again, I think this is why, because it's people say, oh, I couldn't use a small brush. Yes, you can. You just have to make sure that you don't have too much paint. I'm just going to have to turn that slightly because it's tipping. And I'm just gently stroking the colour in. But you are concentrating on not going over the line. And that stops, not all of them, but it just stops some of pain and sensing. Because you are concentrating on something else. They've kind of, that colour's kind of gone quite well together. If you photocopied something and had a play, after you've done one of these pages in this style, you might find you think, oh, I hate that now, I could do that ever again. And you might think, well, actually, that was quite enjoyable. And it's very fast. You could do one of these in a couple of days. And the beauty of photocopying them is the fact you can go maybe that little bit faster and use different colours than you normally would. Because you know you can always do it again. So we've done that. So I think those colours blend themselves to go quite nicely together. And again, that's doing colour without really thinking about it. Although I would have not perhaps used the pea green that I mixed straight onto there, because even though the red was vibrant, the mushrooms are, but it's very rare. Houseplants have very vivid colours, but plants that are outside normally are not really as vivid. So we are now looking for, and I was going to do lots of other trees, wasn't I? But I changed my mind. I mean, you can work in one area and go across, but I do find, I'm just going to move this out of the way because I'm going to split. I find that, and I'll pan out for this, I'll put my glasses on. I found is that because I picked some things, let's have a little stretch. Because I picked some things out, I haven't started in one corner and gone across. Then it grows together in colour wise. So I know I will do all those trees that colour, and then it pulls the painting together without really thinking about it. So I haven't done that red and then changed the red. I get to here and think, oh, I don't know what red I've used. I just use a red because I've done them all the same at the same time. I've tried to do all the mushrooms, and then all the leaves and the trees, and I've got the colours already mixed. It makes the end image all pulled together to look like a good composition. So that's another good reason to do that. This is my little cushion chip. And I don't know if I can show you. Under here is a puppy. Now looking at me. Now not asleep. I'd like to show you the rest of him, but it's not a ladylike look, is it? He sleeps. I watched the what do you call the safari, wild safari, and I saw a lion sleeping. He was there like that until I moved, or until something desperate happened. So I have my kitchen roll here, my baby white here. Oops. So if I put that back now, just put that back on its nose. Let's open the book. So, and again, it's quite nice to sit with all your animals. So that will bring it together. So I've done that one there. So I've seen one here, and there's one here as well. And I've just realised that that's going to be really nice because that's there. There's one that goes into the head. His head. His forehead. So that means I've got that brown now, that deep brown, to do the stag's fur. So that lent itself quite naturally. So I'm going to do this one next because it happens to be on this side of the page, and then I'll turn the other page upside down because I don't really want to bend it because you get this other ridge here. So I'll zoom back in again. Let's see. We're just having a bit of a hello. It's only the wind, it's all right. We're having some. Oh, they said today it was going to be windy today. Goodness me. We're quite wimps when it comes to we're wimps. Probably there. One moment. Thank you, just stood on there. I think it gets very hot making chance on that. So if I auto-focus it, we're going to do this bit here. And then that will teach me that I've got to go into here and do this lovely fawn colour at the bottom. So a quick slurp, as Floyd would say. I can't cook as much as I did. I can't cook at all now. If I cook, I'm a bit like I have somebody cutting the onions, somebody behind with the pan. It's only by the kettle. It's quite funny. I have lots of sous chefs with me, and I forget to turn the gas off and can't lift the stir things. It's quite funny. I just stand there and shout orders. I thoroughly want to think I'd like be like Floyd, Keith Floyd, and I've turned into Gordon Ramsay. Oh dear, that's so sad, isn't it? So go back to here, so I can see the brown that I started with. Put the palette here of the browns and the greens. My brush out again. And I'll just do the autofocus. And then I can carry on. So I'll just see how long I've been. Oh, I can't see that. Put something down there. I'll just carry on for a few. I'll just do this next one, and then I'll stop the recording because I think Ustream's having a spotty problem. So I'm just going to stroke them here. Oh no, I was going to do it the other way, but I do have the colouring up there, so this will be fine. As I'm trying not to be. You can use your paintbrush lower down if you want. As you are just gently stroking 3 or 4 strokes for each leaf. On the other side got the light, but actually I think this canvas is working very well. I can't see. Oh, that's what I'm doing. Oh dear. That is working. I suppose I should be able to set that's music then. That would be good, wouldn't it? Probably be easier if I took my pencil. You've got to be a bit careful what's actually going in there because he's quite good at morphing things into other things. But I think we've got those leaves there, and obviously on the other stag's head there's other ones at this side as well, so it's a natural progression. There is one there, so I think I'll do that one, and then I'll put brown in. That would work quite well. I will take my glasses off. So you mustn't forget that if there is a puppy alert, if I shout dog, you know that they could be followed barking. They're all rescued and they're all quite nervous. And the slightest thing sets them off. That's a little bit too wet, that. But now I've got this next one to go back round. Can't work wet. You get about 3 or 4 leaves and the paintbrush is dried. And yeah, you can get a little bit more. When you start messing about, that's when you go over the lines. So it's always best to just do and twist your paintbrush to a point as well. It's just to stroke the colouring 2 or 3 times. And when it's taking longer, just stop and replenish your brush. Because it's still only going to be about 3 paintbrushes full to do a whole section. So I've done 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, about 16 leaves. So it's about 4 leaves. You do 4 leaves before you I would have really liked another piece of paper, but never mind. I haven't got the kitchen one here. I meant to pick it up, but didn't. There's a tiny drop left of there, which is going to allow me to just do that. So because I'm quite apt to this now, I've managed to do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 leaves. Don't add water every time, but that paint there is going to last me. Going to last me to get round all these leaves. That was a little bit wet, but never mind. Okay. We'll dry. If you watch my video on watercolouring a napkin, it's the same technique, exactly the same. And I don't know why, but it goes in the washing basket as the terrier. He loves to be in the washing basket, in small spaces. And he likes uncomfortable. Excuse me, Dexter? I'm going to have to throw something at him in a minute. Dexter, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Sorry about that. Sit down. Thank you. It's just scratching. He's scratching the sofa. Sorry about that. He's scratching the sofa because it's not ruffled enough for him. And he destroys beddings. It's just the strangest animal I've found. Yes, I was just about to throw my fluffy silver. as he will fit it up to make it uncomfortable. A very strange dog. He's getting on. Nobody actually knows how old he is, but we know he's frightened of lots of things. He's had a pretty hard life, but that's quite nice then. I do like that colour. It's a very unusual colour. You probably could never get that out of a tin, or a tube, I should say. So I'm quite pleased with that. It's not quite an olive, but I'm quite pleased with that colour. And I've made it myself. So because this is all dry, see that? I've only just done that, it's dry. Move up here slightly. Never have anything nice in the house when I've got dogs and kids. There's a couple up here which I found. There's this one here. And of course the other thing is, once you've got some of these leaves painted in, other things become more clearer. So if you concentrate on getting the little leaves out of the way, there's a little bunny there. Well, they're his legs, I think. Oh no, they're sandspans. So it just makes things clearer. Whoops. Doesn't really matter because I'll probably do the sandbags darker. And that's what happens when I'm not at a nice angle really. So again, that's another reason why it's that little bit different. This green is going an awful long way. So when I finish this tree, I'm going to stop this recording. And start at part 2. That's the lurchers stretching in her bed. She has a giant bed which is big enough for St. Bernard, and she is stretched out. See there, there's a couple of leaves, but they're not attached to that. So that's a little bit strange, isn't it? Am I still in frame? So if I do this one, I don't know what those 2 leaves are. They look like leaves. I'm going to leave them because I'm just not sure. Just not sure. do anything else or go anywhere. We thought it would be a good idea. But they seem to be quite fleshy, but still, they come from the horns. As I say, these fascinating drawings look very daunting to look at the way they start. But if you start with the easy things that you know, sorry, that's it's coming better down the circle now. Because he's missed his mummy. Just give me 2 seconds while he gets tucked up. We'll have a quick look at the cutest boy on the planet, but the naughtiest boy. There we go. There's our Alfie. He's on my toes again. Alfie. Alfie. You're about to sleep. You're a lazy boy. Yes, lazy boy. Oh, dog alert, bark alert. It could be a bark alert any time now. So I'll have to talk a lot because if I talk, you won't hear the dogs next door. So hopefully that should be okay because the camera could be knocked over. All sorts of things could happen. So just be aware that any minute he appears to be asleep, but if he hears a dog barking, it was quite funny because we were watching Paulo Grady with his the orphan dogs yesterday. Was it the orphan dogs? Battersea Dogs Home. And we wanted to watch it, but he just stood and barked at every dog he saw. So if you can see that, it's coming on quite nicely. I'm going to carry on with this page. So just have to bear with me. Blinders are back without glasses. So they can be and still working from that. Still working from that edge. And how have we gone with it? So that means it's almost going to be enough. And that's nearly dry. Now that would not be dry. That was watercolour, any wetter. I don't know if anybody else finds when you're watching somebody else paint, I find it quite therapeutic. Sometimes when you work it during the night, if I get downstairs, then we work at the whole house. I'm not really allowed to cut downstairs on my own. There had to be somebody in front of me just in case I tip head first. So I tend to just lay awake and watch this on my phone or e-reader. So you the bird's wings there, so that's, you have to be really careful there. And actually, if we go this way a little bit, there's some more here. If I move this cushion from the pattern, move that across a little bit. Now this is hurting a little bit. I want to be there. I'm doing that one. To be in order. I'm working from this little bit here. Hardly any mess. That's the flow of the water keep dipping into. And there seems to be not a lot of mess. And nothing to spill because the material has been moving things over. And I have to say, although I was going to do an olive, I'm quite pleased I didn't. I do like this colour. And I probably wouldn't have been able to make this. So we have a leaf here. And it isn't a mistake, but it's a tree, but it's a normal tree. It's not a tree coming out of the stag's head. But I think that might tie up all these twigs and shrub-like. So that's another one that's done. So again, you can see that page is coming on quite nicely now. So we've got one up there. So let's start to this side because these are the easiest to do. Have the one up there. I think she's dreaming and her paws are tapping against the back of the book. So if I start talking, and it could be a dog alert, he's opened his eyes because the next door neighbour started to bark. So if I keep talking, he won't hear them and he may not bark, hopefully. So I love that balloon, but I'm decided I want a Victorian balloon. So I've decided to look online for a Victorian balloon because they have those beautiful reds and goldens. So that was my thinking for that. I'm sorry about that, but I think a little bit of waffle is taking my toes. A little bit of waffle, and he's I'm about to sleep again. So, oh, see, I found some wood in here. Really tiny ones. These are just 2 strokes to fill the leaf. Just going to wiggling my ankle to keep me from getting twist. So I'm going to pan out and then stop this video, this recording, and then start again and do the other page of the leaves. But I did quite a lot of waffling, so just clean the brush. So I'll show you what I've done. Oops, no. So let me show you that. So that's what I've done so far. The pale leaves on one side. But again, that's kind of brought all that together. And it's sorted some things out, so I'm not going to get confused here because there's Spare me 2 seconds. Right, so what I was trying to do is if I put the art of focus on and I lift, so that page it's got green, I don't know if you can see, and that page hasn't. But it's kind of got a bit of continuity now. So I'm going to stop the video and I will turn this upside down and then I will start it again, part 2. So thank you for watching, and I shall do the rest of it in part 2. There should probably be about 4 parts to this because I want to completely show it from start to finish. So thank you for watching.